Hey, it's Tara with Reiki on the Run, and today I want to talk about allowing yourself to feel joy. A lot of us don't allow ourselves to feel joy, whether we realize it or not. It can be hard on ourselves, hard on our lives. And it's a good thing to be in joy. Joy begets joy. You know, the more often you are feeling joy, experiencing joy, then you will attract similar instances and that momentum builds and you continue on. And who doesn't want to feel joy, right? And another thing, joy is up there with love and appreciation. It's the top tier of emotions that you can feel. And a lot of us don't chase that. And it's very important. A lot of times we think, oh, if we get this thing, then I'll be able to have joy. If this comes into my life, very conditional. Once I do this, then I'll be enjoying. That's just not how it works. You need to be enjoying now, and those things will come. But either way, very important to feel joy. That's what we're here for. It's a good thing. So I'm going to go over a list of reasons that I've experienced personally in my life of why I haven't felt joy, what's blocked me from that. And so I'll go over some of those with you, and hopefully you can relate and pay attention to that stuff and maybe shift it. So the first thing I have is events occurring outside of yourself. Now, right now in my current reality, and as of the recording of this, the big medical pandemic thing is going on, and that is a huge thing. But there's always events occurring, shootings, all kinds of crazy things going on around us. And sometimes we will be so engulfed in that we don't experience joy. I remember a friend asking once after a big school shooting, not recently, a couple years ago, if that was affecting me, and it wasn't, and it doesn't. I have definitely learned to become detached from that kind of stuff. I mean, if someone is hurting in front of me, obviously I'm going to help them and do everything I can. And if there's a way I can help financially with something or with my time in any way, if I can help with any of the events going on, I will do that. But there is absolutely no need for me to get consumed with sadness or being upset if there's nothing I can do to change it, because that just sucks the joy out of my life. And there's so many events going on all the time that if you are to get wrapped up in all of them, you would never feel joy because there's just so many. And sometimes I feel like we think we have to be like that. We have to be this kind of martyr for everything that's going on. Like we're some kind of weirdo or jerk if we don't. I know how it sounds to other people when I say, no, I'm not attached to that. I am detached from these situations, and I can kind of feel the weirdness of that. But if you do want to feel joy, it's very important to not let those things affect you. The next one I have is when you've experienced loss. This is a tough one. If you've lost a parent, I've lost a parent. If you've lost, even worse, a child, this can suck the joy out of your life. And I feel like it's almost expected in society that you feel sad and lost constantly. I know I've read when I've watched stories online about parents losing their children and other people online saying, oh my gosh, if that was my child, I'd be screaming, crying, you wouldn't be able to stop me. And I understand, obviously I would be very upset. It would be very difficult if I lost a child, I can imagine. But the expectation that you spend the rest of your life crying is just not realistic, nor would anyone you've ever lost want you to experience the rest of your life like that. So that is not a valid argument. You've got to find ways to find joy if you have experienced losing someone close to you. They would not want you to sit around sad for the rest of your life. They would want you to be happy. Anyone that you love so much that you're hurting, that you've lost them, they would want you to be as happy as possible and to be joyful and to be experiencing good things, even though they're not around. So that is another one that a lot of people get hung up on and that blocks their joy. Guilt over your past was a huge one for me. I can lay down in some guilt and shame because I've done stupid shit my whole life and continue to occasionally do stupid things. And we all do, some worse than others, but nobody's worried about everybody else's. It's yours. Experiencing guilt over things, shame, things you've done. Sometimes, I mean, I can even ride myself with guilt for things that are not guilt worthy at all, really silly things. I mean, there are some things that I probably should be feeling a little guilty about. But for the most part, we feel guilt and we don't need to. And we are not the sum of all of our mistakes. It's not true. We don't need to hold ourselves to every mistake we've ever made. Why don't we hold ourselves to every amazing thing we've ever done? How come we don't do that? So if you have a problem with feeling guilty over things, you've got to find a way to make peace with that and let it go and focus on other things. Because that is, like I said, joy and love and appreciation are way up at the top of the emotional scale, and guilt and shame and fear are on the bottom. And you really, that will block you completely the more you sit around in guilt because of things you've done in the past. So just know that you're not the sum of all your mistakes. We all make mistakes. We come here to learn and grow. And you don't grow and you don't become a better person if you're ever not a shitty person. So don't hold yourself to that. Don't lay around in guilt of the things you've done. Another thing that sometimes someone might feel guilt over is others around you. They can block your joy, whether they realize it or not. A lot of people have trouble if you do well, if you are joyful. If they aren't, misery loves company. And or you might just feel guilty because your best friend isn't, things going on in her life and she's sucked into it, and it's hard. You don't want to be so joyful around your best friend, or just because of other people around you not being in the same place that you are. But that is no reason to cut your joy off. It is okay. You should not feel bad about being joyful. And honestly, if you build that momentum, if you stay in a joyful mode as often as you can, that will infect other people. That will, when you have the dominant higher vibration, you can affect others with it. If you walk into a room and you see someone, or you see someone that walks in a room, you always hear them say, oh, they light up a room. That's infectious. That joy, that high vibration energy that emits out is infectious. I get a lot of you that write me and say, I connect with you. I feel like we'd be friends. And I get it. I completely get it, because I am the same way with people that I listen to online. And it's the vibration. It's the vibration, that high vibration, that brings you in. And so don't feel like you need to tamp down your joy because of other people around you. And, sometimes it's hard because people will say things, people will give you a hard time. If you're moving on, and then you kind of get into, do I need to let loose of some of the time I spend with this person? But just don't let other people and feeling guilty because they're not experiencing joy. Don't let that be something that blocks your joy. Another belief that you might harbor without realizing is that in order for you to feel joy, you have to take from someone else. A lot of times we'll think, same with abundance and wealth. You think that, well, if I get it, somebody else isn't going to get it, and I have to take it from them. And that's absolutely not true. The world is abundant. We can all experience joy if we so choose and put ourselves in that position. You're not taking someone else's joy by being joyful. You can actually, like I just said, you can actually create joy around you when you are in that state. It encourages other people to be in that state. It's funny. There's, where I live, there's groups of people who like to complain about kind of everything that everything that's not perfect. And so when I come around, I had someone ask me the other day, and she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I was like, "Great." And she recoiled. She just couldn't. Oh, I didn't expect that. Everything that's going on right now. But it caused them to not complain at that time. And so you really can have an effect on others when you put out that joy. And when it's true, that fake, nice, positive thinking stuff is hogwash, as my grandma used to say, and putting on a happy face isn't going to emit that energy and infect others. It's going, just going to be seen as fake. So get in that real joy, and you don't have to take it from anybody. You're not going to take anybody else's joy if you're experiencing some, that's for sure. Looking at negatives too much. We don't realize it sometimes, I think. I used to be such a victim. Everything was everybody's fault. I was always broke. I was always this, never took responsibility for my own emotions. It was always, and I did have a rough life, not hideous, but not great. And it wasn't always great. But continuing to focus on those things does nothing. Things are done, they're over, and right now it's up to me, and I get to decide what I think about. I get to decide what kind of mood I'm in. I get to shift my thinking when it goes awry. And you can do that too. And you sometimes you don't realize. I didn't realize, man, what a wake-up call. I fucking realize what a victim I was. I complained about everything. I whined. I could not have been fun to be around, and I get that. But it's amazing when you realize, if you just take a look at your thoughts and the things you say to people, and it's your thoughts too. It's not just what you say. You could be very nice to everyone, but your internal dialogue is almost more important than your external, because you talk to yourself all day, every day. And so that internal dialogue, if you're constantly focusing on the negatives, that's going to block you from being joyful. So it doesn't mean the things that were done to you are okay, or that the person should be off the hook, or it doesn't matter. You're just taking your power back and shifting your thoughts and not letting those things define you and keep you in that negative, shitty vibe. You want to get into joy. Joy feels good. You want to feel good. You want to feel better. And that might keep you from it. Two more. Your input. Be very careful with the things you allow in. So how to explain this? Every day is like, let's say every day you get 24 hours in a day, and just imagine that every hour you spend in a certain way makes the next day the way it is. And so if you spend 15 of those hours in fear because you're watching scary stuff, you're listening to the news and all the fear that's coming, whatever, then the next day you're going to feel that same way. So that's kind of a very loose idea of how this works, but that's how it works. So you have to be very careful of the input. What are you listening to as far as music? Are you listening to nasty lyrics that are degrading to people, or just talking trash that's not true? Are you listening to the news all the time, which news is it's so fear-based. It's so fear-based. And I know a lot of people, more even me, I watch to see what the world is seeing right now. But it's so fear-based, and it's funny because I've been away from it for so many years. And so now every time I look at the titles, it's almost funny to me. It's so, all the wording is terror, fear. I mean, they use those words too, and just these, go look at a news station website and look at the words they use in the titles, and it is so much fear mongering and fear based, and that's it, and it's crazy. But you have to be careful. Same with what you read, the TV programs that you watch, if you still watch TV, the friends that you hang out with. Who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people who complain constantly? I understand being a friend. If you want to be a friend, I'd love to have friends who, when I do have a hard time, I can talk to them. But if that's all I'm talking about, that's a problem. If you have friends that all they do is complain about their life, complain about their lover, complain about everything, it's not good for you. And you don't realize, sometimes you don't realize that has an effect on everything. So if you have the news running all day, and even when you sleep, that stuff hits your subconscious. And even everything, commercials, you listen to commercials and it's all about some disease you're probably going to get and how you need to take this medicine for it, and that you're not okay because you need this medicine. It's really eye-opening when you start to pay attention to your input and put more positive things in. I'm not saying I'll still watch a movie, I'll still watch something. My sons love to watch TV or watch movies, so we'll sit down and watch movies sometimes. I'm not a big fan, I wouldn't choose it, but I can. It's not going to ruin me, but I have to watch my input. I can't constantly do that stuff. I used to love watching years ago with my husband for the first 48. I love that kind of stuff. I only read true crime books. I love that stuff. But I can't do it now because I notice almost immediately I can watch like one show like that and then I'm done because I can feel my energy shift. But you might not realize that it does have an effect. So you can also, counteract that if you want to watch a little bit of that stuff. Just make sure you're putting good in. Make sure you're listening to things that are uplifting, that make you feel better in whatever way. I've started to like, classical music and 432 hertz and things like that really do have a shift on my vibration. I have a playlist. I think it's called Background Music for the Soul, maybe. And I listen to that almost every day while I'm sitting, usually in the morning when I'm having coffee when I start working. And it soothes everyone. It soothes my children. They like it. It feels good. It makes you feel better. It's uplifting. Things like that. Just make sure you're getting more of the good in than you are of the negative, fear-based, joy-sucking stuff. Okay, and the last one, and this is huge. This has taken me a long time to overcome, and I think I still have residual issues with it, and that's I don't feel like I deserve it. So many people have these ideas ingrained in them that they don't deserve nice things. They don't deserve to be enjoyed. And that can play into a part with the guilt. You can feel like guilty for things, and that's why you don't. But also there are things from when you're little, when you're a child, your parents could say something to you and not even mean anything by it and not realize the effect. I've done it to my kids, and my parents did it to me. Just say things that make you feel invalidated and make you feel not heard and make you feel not important. And it's possible that you take those things because you're like a little recorder until you're 7 years old. And that's programming your subconscious. And everything that you learn up until about 7 years old is what you live your whole life, and unless you realize it and change it, actively change your subconscious ideas and thoughts and beliefs, you run on that. And so if your parents even inadvertently made you feel like you weren't important, what you had to say was not valid, you grow up thinking that you're not important and you don't deserve good things. And why do you want more? Maybe somebody told you to be, when you ask for more ice cream, to be happy with what you have, or why you always want more than what you have, or that's greedy, or you know what I mean? Simple things like that, you might not even realize that you just don't feel deserving of amazing things. You might see other people and think, yeah, that's for them, that's not for me. Especially I've struggled with in relationships. I've never had like great relationships. Before I was married, they were okay, but never, you'd see really, really great relationships. And I just would tell myself over and over again my whole life, I don't deserve that. That's for them. That's for them. That's not for me. So these are things that you need to recognize. If you ever feel like you don't deserve something, check it out. Think of, why do I think that? That's crazy. Why would I not deserve something that somebody else does? That's ludicrous. You deserve everything. You deserve everything you want. Everything you do. And if you can get past those beliefs, all of these, that keep you from your joy, it's huge, huge, huge. Because, like attracts like. If you stay in that joy vibration, more things will come your way. Not to say things are going to happen. I love my life today. I have come so far. It's amazing. Now, I still have shit going on in my life. I still have problems. Things still happen. But I'm able to shift away from pity parties and feeling shitty for a long time. I'm able to move past them. I'm able to learn from them, realize that they're causing growth, all that. So it's not like, oh, your problems will go away and you'll just be joyful all the time. That's not true. Now I am joyful most of the time, which is amazing. Because if you knew me 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it gets better and better. So, experiencing joy, chasing joy, looking for things joyful in your life constantly, paying attention to them, appreciate them. A very big deal. If you want to feel better, chase the joyful feelings, and pay attention to all these things, and try to get rid of them because they're not true. All right. I hope this helps, and I will talk to you very, very soon.
If this video helped you, I want to let you know that I wrote a book to deal with the current pandemic and how to get through it and come out a little better. So if you're interested, there's a link below, and it's free if you have Kindle Unlimited, and just a few dollars if not. Thanks.